year.
This year?
Ready to go, Mayor?
Let's have at it.
Okay, I don't know if you do anything formal calling this to order or just want to turn me loose.
Have at her.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I knew of some of you folks, other folks I just met for the first time tonight. So for those of you who have never met me, I have been in city government. On February 1st, marked 50 years. I have been involved in city government in one capacity or another, as a city manager or as a consultant to cities throughout the state of Iowa. My first job right out of college, first I went to Loras, and then I went to University of Iowa, and then I went down to Fort Madison for 3 years in the Public Works Department, so got a good education there on the Public Works end of it. From there, I went to West Point, where I was the city administrator for 2 years, and then my father called me, and he says, because I was born and raised by Bernard, just on the north side of Bernard. If you're on the south side, it's Bernard, okay? But I'm on the north side, so it's Bernard. Anyway, he called me and says, city manager John Beckman just left Maquoketa, and he's resigned, and he's moving away. He said, you're never going to get a job that close to home. And I was only 28 years old at the time, and I thought, I don't have a shot at this, but what the heck? So anyway, I had my interview, and as I mentioned before the meeting, most of the council members that I interviewed with the exception, I think, of Neil Moorhead was on the council, and Jack Rosenberg, are all deceased now. And all the department heads that I worked with in 1978, they're all deceased now as well. But anyway, went into the interview thinking, oh, what the heck, good experience. And I hit on a couple of things that really resonated with them. One was good public relations, which was not John Beckman's strong suit. I'll tell you a story about that later if you want. And then the other was good capital improvements project planning, having a good CIP, because I had just done a capital improvements plan in my little town of West Point. And then having the Bernard connection, not being that far away, was a plus. And so unbeknownst to me, I got the call that I had the job. And expected to stay here about 5, maybe 7 years at the most. And then, of course, like sometimes happens, you get into a community, you like the community, you like the people. My kids like the community. And all 3 of my kids went to school here, by the way, all the way through the whole system. And so I ended up staying as city manager 14 and a half years. And then I experienced burnout because I had some council members like, okay, I can work with them, but their views on things are so different than mine that I thought, yeah, it's time for me to do something different. And that's when I started a consulting business, which was a leap of faith as well. And it just took off. I was busier than I ever expected to be. And it was because of the good experience here that I built up a very successful consulting business and traveled throughout the state, and I really loved it. And then started looking into my IPERs, and I stayed living here, and started looking into my IPERs in the year 2006, and the lady said, what if you ever went back to work for a city for a period, maybe 4 or 5 years? What kind of salary would you make? And she punched in, I said, well, here's where I would probably make. And she punched in the numbers, turned the computer screen around at me, and she says, if you go back to work for 4 or 5 years, here's what your pension is going to be. And if you don't go back to work for 4 or 5 years, here's what your pension is going to be. And it was a no-brainer. I got to go back to work for a city and get back on IPERs again, because I wasn't on IPERs. And then Anamosa called me and said, would you come over and help us do a recruitment for a city manager? Our city manager, we just fired him. We got to get another one. And I said, the mayor at the time was John Hatcher. And I said, tell you what, John, rather than help you hire one, I'm interested. And John and I had known each other, and he says, you are? So as they say, rest is history. I was the only one they interviewed. I got the job. Kind of like you did here. You only had one person for the full-blown interview. So anyway, so I got the job and put in my 4.5 years, and then went back into consulting. And so I've been doing that ever since, although I'm really scaling back down. I'm 74 years old, And there comes a point where you think, okay, I'm not quite as sharp as I used to be. The names don't come quite as quick. Although in my Christmas letter, I told people this year, I said, you know what? I'm 74 years old. In 4 years, in the year 2028, I'll be 78 years old. I will be in my prime to run for president. And as we saw yesterday, somebody else realized maybe they're not in their prime anymore. Anyway, so, but I am scaling back a little bit and not doing, I still do some goal setting and I still do quite a few presentations. I get quite a few calls. In fact, a week from tonight, if you're interested, I'm doing a workshop in Baldwin, at the Baldwin Fire Station of all places. ECIA has asked me to do a workshop for towns. They actually wanted me to repeat this workshop. I did it earlier. It's called the Top 10 Habits of Highly Effective City Councils. In fact, I have a little handout over here tonight if you want to see some of the things I'm going to be talking about. But they've had some interesting discussions at the Baldwin City Council meetings, and so the folks at ECIA have asked me to come in and do that workshop. So that gives you a little bit of background about me. And I know most of you, but I think it'd be good to have a little refresher course on how long you've been in the community and how long you've been on the council, and maybe if you're working yet, what the day job is. So I'm gonna start with Corey. Corey, I've known his dad for a long, long time. So.
Corey Simonson, born and raised in Maquoketa. Daytime job is a plant manager here at a factory in town on the fire department rescue squad.
Oh, good for you.
Council, I don't even know how long.
Okay.
It was a vacated seat when I was probably 22, 23 years old. Kind of
Yeah.
like city government
Oh,
and
good.
jumped on that vacant seat, and I took a term off. Jessica Keene ran, so let her take a couple years, and then I got bounced back in. So
Oh, good.
over 10 years, 12 years, somewhere in there.
Wow. Okay.
Dick Rickrell. I was born and raised in Clinton,
Okay.
so, but I spent 40 years out of Iowa
Oh,
and just moved here in 2018.
okay.
Being on a city council is something that I always was
Wanted.
going to do. I told my high school government teacher that someday I would be on city council. I didn't think it would take 50 years, but I got there. So I've been here for
We're in that same generation I'm in then, aren't you?
Yeah, yes. Just a few years younger than you. So.
Okay.
But we love it here. We've made this our home, and
Good.
we're raising our granddaughter. So
Okay.
this will be our home for the rest of our lives.
Oh, good. Okay. Mark?
I'm Mark Lyon. I was born and raised here as well, and I worked away for a while and then came back and raised my 4 children here and owned the local brewery in my retirement. And
Okay. I was there about 4 or 5 months ago. Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Okay. Tom, I know quite a bit about you. Yeah.
I'm Mayor Tom Meserly. This is my second run at being mayor. I was, when you turn that,
What years were you mayor before?
I was mayor from 2000 to 2008 or 10,
Okay. All right.
and then took some time off and got asked to run again. So why not? So I ran again.
Good to have you back.
My daytime job is running the radio station here in town, and as soon as that sale goes through, I'm retiring again.
Okay. All right. Oh, good.
Kevin Coleman, born and raised in Maquoketa, lived here most of my life. Day job, I work at John Deere during the day. Owner-operator of Maquoketa River Rental in the summertime.
Okay, yeah.
Got some rental property here in town as well.
Okay.
On my 3rd term for city council. Odds are it's probably gonna be my last, just all depends, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got a 3-year-old that I'm really excited to raise and here in
okay.
town, so there's only 24 hours in the day and I try to manage them as much as possible, but 1 hour away from my son feels like an eternity, so it's just kind of one of those things.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, because you can't get that time back once he's gone.
Yep.
Having raised 3, it goes fast.
It does, it
Yep.
does.
Okay. Caroline?
Caroline Ehlinger, born and raised in Maquoketa, lived here all my life,
Okay.
basically. Raised 4 children, worked at Collins Aerospace for 32 years, well, Rockwell Collins. I don't know, my time here, this is the first elected, you know, first time I was elected. I filled in Brent Goods a year, I think it was, for him to finish that term out.
Okay,
So, yeah.
all right.
Looking forward to being a part of this because it's something that I feel very strongly about as a member of the community, to give back, to do something.
Good. Okay, all right.
My name's Ginger Bennett. I was born and raised in Davenport. I have lived in Maquoketa now for almost 10 years. I worked as a registered nurse for many years and then as a charge nurse for many years. And as a charge nurse, politics kind of got in the way, and it's kind of unsettling to see healthcare go from healthcare to no healthcare. That's not why I got into nursing. So then I did some home healthcare nursing, and then became a nanny for children that have, you know, medical disorders that they needed a registered nurse with them during the day. Kind of quit that. Did some construction work with my cousin who has a business down in Davenport. Thought about going back into nursing, but the political part of it, I just couldn't get there, but yet here I am. But so,
Yep.
and I just recently quit my job. I'm not sure what's next for me.
Okay. Kind of an exciting time and also
Yeah.
a scary time.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out though.
Yep, you will. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to go through the agenda real quick and just give you a quick overview of what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go through what we call Exhibit A, and that's your list of accomplishments. I am not going to read those to you. I'm going to assume you had lots of time to read them because we got this meeting postponed now twice. I'm going to assume you had time to read them. I'm just going to see if there's anything we missed or anything that you weren't sure what they were talking about when they put that on. So then we'll do the same thing on the issues and concerns and trends. Not going to spend a lot of time on that. But in terms of the agenda, the bulk of the time is going to be spent on 5 and 6. We have, as you know, you've turned in your list of potential programs and policies and procedures and that sort of thing. We'll go down through those one by one, make sure that everybody is on board with what they entail, and we'll see if there's anything we need to add, or sometimes we combine a couple items. We've done that. And then once we've gone through them, everybody has a good understanding of what they are. I'm going to afford you the opportunity to do a sales pitch on a few of them, not all of them, but if there's any items as we go down through this and you think, oh man, I hope the other council members see the importance of this. And when we go through the process, which I call the dot process, and put your dots on the top ones, I hope my colleagues on the council recognize that this is really important. I'm also going to turn to department heads and give them the opportunity to do the same thing if there's any items on there. Also, the department heads from time to time, if there's something that Josh and I maybe can shed some light on, we will, but a lot of times the department heads can shed a lot more light on a particular topic. So if you have a question for them, that's the other reason they're here. And then when we get to that point, talk to Josh, talk to Tom a little bit about this. I sometimes in some cities afford the opportunity for the department heads to rank them as well and put their dots on the top projects from their perspective. I do challenge them. I tell them, do it from the perspective of someone who lives in this community, not as, don't put all the dots on your projects, okay? Put the dots on the projects that you think are, you really think are the most important. Now, sometimes council will say, that's all well and good, but we're the only ones that are going to put dots on, and that's fine. We'll do that either way. But when it comes to ranking the projects in the report, your dots are what counts. You are duly elected by the people. They are not. So when it comes time to putting them in order and ranking them, that's what counts, okay? Their dots are merely an indication to you as to where they're coming from, what their thoughts are, okay? And then we'll do the same thing with capital projects and go down through them one by one, go through that ranking process with the dots. May add a few, that's fine. If there's something you've thought of since you filled out your questionnaire, that works. And by the way, thank you for filling out the questionnaire because saves a lot of time here tonight, okay? When I first saw this process way back in 1980, The gentleman who did it was named Tim Shields. I actually worked with him at the University of Iowa years later. He wrote these things all down during the meeting, and it took forever. We were there many times till 11:30 at night. It's not going to happen here, folks. You're going to be home in bed by 11:30. Okay, I will not allow you to go that long, and that's why occasionally I will have to maybe cut off the conversation a little bit and move on, because we can't get bogged down on one thing. So, and then the last thing we really spend on is Exhibit E, which is the teamwork suggestions on how you might work better together as a group, how you might have better interaction with your department heads and the public. So, and sometimes when I come into these processes and Exhibit E is 2 and 3 pages long, I'm like, OMG, because that means there are issues. Your list was pretty darn good, okay? Nothing jumped out at me like I did the OMG, okay? It was all good suggestions. But I will tell you, that doesn't happen in every city. And if you have a good working relationship with each other, appreciate it, don't take it for granted, because I have been in these goal setting sessions where council members literally do not like and literally hate each other. And those are not fun meetings, okay? And unfortunately, over the last 10, 15 years, I'm seeing more of that around the state. And I think it's just what we're seeing at the federal and state level has kind of permeated down to the local level. When I was first in this line of work, I didn't see that sort of thing as much as what I do now. And so, but it's unfortunate. I'm hoping the league has done a number of training sessions on putting civility back into city government, and I'm hoping some of those cities that have had issues will see a turnaround and start working together. So, but we can talk more about that later if you want. We certainly will be talking about it next week in Baldwin if you want to partake in that. So that's the agenda. Any questions on the agenda or anything you want to change, add, or modify in any way? Okay, let's go to my ground rules. And my ground rules for this is very simple. I'm looking for good overall participation from everyone. We do want to keep it, positive and constructive, which I know we will here, but like I said, some places that's not always, I don't always assume that. Number 3, like I said, I don't allow you to get into a long debate on one particular project or item. And so I'll let you talk about it a little bit, but in order to keep things moving, I will probably get you to move on. We keep it respectful, patient. Number 5 is key, and that is, this is a brainstorming session. So if you've had ideas and maybe they've come to you at the council meeting that, oh, this isn't the time or the place, and I don't want to take up, everybody's time to talk about this, that's what tonight is all about, okay? If you've got an idea that didn't show up on the list and you want to throw it out for discussion, now's the time to do that. The time is short, and I will not allow you to resolve completely any one issue. Number 7 is critical. And a term I use, silence is affirmation. If I sense that you're all coming together on a particular point, like whether or not we should combine the big sheets over here, combine a couple projects, nobody objects, I'm moving on. I'm going to say, hey, sounds like you're all on board with that. So, 8, I don't have to worry about here, but in some settings, I have a lot of people in the audience, and I have to tell them to limit the sidebar conversations. 9, it's an informal session. Keep it light. Get up and move around if you need to. If anyone says, hey, I need a break for 5 minutes, do that anytime. You will have a break after we go through the big sheets and rank everything. Then you can take a short break then if you like. And then lastly, the report that you will get will be, as I say, it's not cast in stone. It's a draft report. I'll share it with Josh ahead of time, make sure I captured the discussion correctly tonight, and then it'll come to you as a draft and you can review it and approve it. Now, the interesting thing about your process is slightly different than what I normally do, but I really like it, and that is, we're going to take what you come up with, your top goals and objectives tonight, and Josh is going to meet with your financial folks and say, is this doable? Can we financially do this? And I really like that, because when I do presentations on capital improvements plan, one of the things I stress is, it's one thing to say we're going to do something, It's a whole other thing to figure out where you're coming up with the money to do it and what impact it's going to have on the city's financial situation. So I like what you're going to be doing, and that is the financial advisors that you work with, we're going to review what you've got, do some projections on numbers, which, by the way, Josh shared with me the budget that you folks and he had put together. I have to tell you, and I don't tell people this all the time, one of the best budget documents I've ever run across. It was easy to read. It was full of great information. I was just like, I actually sent it out to some of the other consultants I work with, and I say, you got to see this. So very well done, folks. I was very impressed with what you did. I wish I would have done a budget that good when I was here and did 14 or 15 of them. So, but anyway, and then after your financial advisor looks this stuff over, then we'll meet again. I think we're back in September. But the date in September may depend on your financial advisor's schedule, whether or not they can fit it all in. We've kind of lost two weeks here, so, but it's tentatively on your calendars, so kind of keep that in mind. And then after we get done tonight, we'll talk about that a little more. So those are my ground rules. Any questions on the ground rules? Okay, let's go to Exhibit A. And Exhibit A is the list of major accomplishments that you've done over the last few years. And I like to start out with this because many times councils, you take each project one at a time and you talk about 3 or 4 of them at every council meeting, but you never see the sum total of what has been accomplished. And most councils, after they see the sum total of all these things that have been done by you folks and by your department heads, they're quite impressed. And you're no different. There's a long list of things that have been done. I tried to break them down by the different categories that I typically do. So as I said to you before, I'm not going to read these to you. I'm going to give you a minute or two to kind of refresh your memory of what's on there, and then just kind of scan them very quickly. I'm looking for, did we miss anything? Is there anything on the list you don't understand that you would like an explanation of what was that? And lastly, if there's anything on here that you would say, maybe that doesn't even belong on the list. So I give you 2 minutes to look through that real quick, okay? Okay, anybody need any more time? Okay. Did we miss anything? Is there anything that needs to be added to this list? Is there anything on the list you don't remember, don't understand what it's all about?
What's a vertical screen installation?
That's the sewer one that we just redid.
Okay,
Put it in 10 years ago and just redid it.
yeah, I remember it now. I didn't know what it was called.
Okay, all right. Any other questions like that? Department heads, did you see anything in the list that you thought, where'd that come from? What is it? Okay, we're all good with Exhibit A then, no changes. All right, let's go to Exhibit B. Exhibit B is a listing of what I commonly refer to as any issues or concerns. There may not even be a solution for them, but it's important, I think, to put them on the table to realize this is what we're dealing with, okay? Because you're better off to kind of face these things and realize that these are one of the challenges that we're going to have going forward. So once again, I am not going to read this list to you. You can refresh your memory here for a few minutes. And the reason I do that is because it's probably been 2 weeks since some of you looked at this stuff, so, but I'll give you a chance to look it over and we'll see if there's anything we missed. Okay, anyone need more time? All right. Anything on the list where you didn't know what that's all about? Would like an explanation? All right. Did we miss anything we need to add to the list? Okay. Department heads, did we miss anything? Anything you got any questions on? Okay.
Pat, I was just gonna ask, maybe to spur some conversation and get some things going. You do this in other cities and pay attention much more than even I do at the state level. What do you see as some trending issues right now that would face a city like Maquoketa?
Finding employees everywhere I go, finding people to work. Yeah, yeah. That's just it's every city that I go to. Yeah, and then the other thing is some places the lack of civility that I talked about. You know, people just not getting along. The other thing that I see, and I appreciate what Brad's doing, and that is nuisance abatement. Because nuisance abatement, I commend the council, the community for getting on top of that, because I've seen other cities where it turns into a downward spiral, you know? It's just one neighbor sees the other neighbor, and, well, that's no big deal, and just downward and then if it goes on long enough, your property values might decline. So I commend you for making the commitment to have Brad out there working on that, because I think that's critical to a community that's concerned about their future. So, and then the other thing is, a lot of cities, you know, I'm seeing the financial concerns. Where are we going to come up with the money just to get the basics covered? So,
Item
Kevin?
number 4, I guess the only concern, I probably should have spoke up a little sooner, but I was kind of reviewing stuff.
Yeah.
The only concern I really have is we're not really using our fiber optic network that we put in place.
Okay.
Kind of bring in tech jobs. Because I think there's a huge opening for Maquoketa to get some tech jobs in here.
Yeah.
And we're just not, at least I haven't seen anything come really through the council.
Okay.
I spoke about it a couple years ago, but like I said, just kind of a concern of mine, because I think that's kind of where the future is and kind of where.
Yeah, kind of a missed opportunity there if you don't.
Look for jobs is with the tech, so.
Okay.
So I know the council put together that fiber optic network for that reason. That's about the only thing that I didn't see in here that concerns
Okay.
me.
All right. Okay. All right. Any other comments, observations? Okay, let's go to Exhibit C. Exhibit C is This is what tonight's all about, folks, and that is going through, and I will go down through these one by one with you to make sure everybody's on board. If we want to have a brief discussion, you can. Now, these are what I call non-bricks and mortar. You know, many of these items are not going to cost you a lot of money. Some of them might cost you a consulting fee, like the annexation study. That might cost you some money for a consultant maybe to do it, but vast majority of them are not going to be budget busters, okay? But it is going to require time on your part and time on the staff's part. And so that's just as critical as that you make good use of their time and your time. So what we will do is go down through them. If you see any items on there you think they're about the same thing, let's combine those two. That certainly is fine. If you see something on there that maybe just recently is no longer a topic, that it's either been addressed or something's happened that it's really shouldn't even be on the table, we'll cross that one out, get rid of it. But in the end, what we're looking for is, let's see, you had a total of 22 of these items. What we're looking for in the end is having a consolidated list, and then I'm going to challenge you and give you what I call my dots, and you're going to put your initials on those dots. And these are all listed on these big sheets. Just exactly as you see them on Exhibit C, they're all right there. After we do a little update, I'm going to put them on the back wall here, and then I'm going to make sure you all get the same number of dots. I'll go through the ground rules with you. But before I do that, one of the things I talked to Tom and Josh about is there's two ways I do this. One is I give dots to the department heads too, and just for the heck of it, see where they're coming from. And so, as I mentioned, but your dots, as I told you, are the ones that count. At this point, since I'm going to be challenging them, if you're okay with it, does anyone have any objections to giving dots to the department heads and see what they think? Yeah, everybody good with that? Okay. Every once in a while, I'll get to a city, and someone will, city manager, usually a city manager says, nope, just the council, which is fine too. I do it any way you want. So, okay. So I'm going to challenge you folks too. You start going through the list. Okay, as we go through the list, if you see one that, hey, that's got to be top priority, mark it, so you don't have to go back and refresh your memory, put a check mark by it. If we end up with about 22, typically I would give you probably 7 dots or so, but you will determine the number after we see the final count and the final list, okay? So, first one on the list, review water and sewer rates, which, by the way, I see that on a lot of lists. And pretty straightforward. Okay, and if I don't hear any comments, or you want to have a discussion, I'm going to move right on to the next one usually, okay?
I think with number one, I think we review the water and sewer rates every year anyway.
Yeah, probably during the budget time, yeah. Yeah. So. And once again, you may see an item on there that is like, oh, I don't even have to worry about that. Then don't put a dot on it, I guess would be yeah. So, number 2, review additional revenue options. That one has really popped up a lot lately for me. So, okay. Number 3, software that is more efficient and effective for rental inspection / landlord registry. Software would be more efficient to keep track of property issues such as water, property maintenance, civil infractions, and building permits. That's a lot. And so does anybody have any questions on what we're talking about there?
Yeah. What are we talking about?
Okay.
Just a whole new set of software to track and.
Okay. I can only guess where that idea came from, but does anybody want to touch on that?
Yes, Brad, could you please tell us?
Yeah, put me on the spot.
So what are you using right now, Brad,
For
for tracking all of this stuff?
paper, mostly.
Okay.
Oh,
Here's the issues. Police department, me, the girls in the city hall, all deal with the same people. And if we don't tell each other we're dealing with them, they don't know we're dealing with
so
them.
there's no communication between,
And I try to, but you just don't do that all the time. I have many, many contractors that wanna pay online. We don't allow that yet. And apply online. There are software companies out there that have products that work with cities that are cloud-based, that, you know, you pay per password or whatever, where you could have possibly the police department, especially with their civil infraction stuff that they have now. I can see that, Jan could see it at City Hall, what's going on with this whole property. You put the address in, you got the building permits, the abatements, the code violations, anything going on, water main breaks, whatever, or curb stop issues. If we didn't talk about it or I didn't hear about it, sometimes you hear a month later, hey, yeah, we've been working on that too. What I do right now is we have what's called Rehab Pro, and that's built for like Section 8 housing, like a big city type product, and it's got, basically all I use that for is to maintain our landlord's registry kind of thing. And it does produce invoices for the renewals for rentals. That's really the only thing I use it for. Everything else I've been doing on paper, and that's it. I mean, I just think I've been, over the last couple of years, budget time, I do some research, and I've had some demos on other products out there, and it's out there. Obviously, it all costs money. And, you know, I'm a pretty much low budget guy, so, we don't go there sometimes because of that money. And I understand that. We're not huge. We don't have, you know, we have around 200 landlords. You know, we have about 1,000 rental units. We may not need a big, robust type program, but it seems like to me, since I've been in this position, seeing this side of things, you know, and being also on the police department at one time, seeing that side of things, we have a lot of miscommunication. And a lot of times we're dealing with the same properties that we all should know what we're doing, you know, with that property. And that's all communication, but, you know, that's just how things go. I might be off a day, nothing gets told, you know, the officer that's working on that, we don't hear, we don't see, those types of things. So it could be better. Like I said, it takes a program and money.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Well, it is, but are you talking just a specific program or an overarching, like Office 365, where the capability, if
So
City Hall uses it, if the police department were able to use it, there's a thing, it's a cloud-based Teams.
Yeah.
Where you could see what someone else put in on an
Yes.
ongoing
So
and consistent.
some of the programs I've looked at, they would do code enforcement, building permits, licensing, like for, I think Judy does like liquor licensing and stuff, and like, vendor licenses now we do, food trucks, those types of things. All those licensing things we do in the city could be there. And multiple people can see that.
That makes sense.
And it's not information that can't be seen by non-confidential people. So it's like, it's just, what I've seen on several software programs is you punch that address in, and everything that has anything to do with that address, you know, any abatements we've done, any code violations we've done, any water sewer issues, any police officer stuff, not like you know, just basically civil stuff that they've done.
calls.
Yeah, I would have that information, and I'd say, hey, yeah, that's a good way to do something different, you know, or something like this. And just knowing that, you know, the research I do sometimes on properties, on questions on, like, public record questions that we have, has there been any violations on this property? You know, we're trying to, you know, people call me all the time about buying a property, or it's an industrial property or something. Can you dig up all the building permits? Well, guess where I gotta go to get the building permits? Down in the basement. I gotta know what year they done anything, and I gotta find it by paper, you know, and it just takes a lot of time to do that, and if it was all in some kind of program, we could easily do it a lot better, obviously. But that takes time to develop, and it takes time to get all the data in there, but eventually, I think it'd be a lot better.
Win-win for everybody.
And I mean, there's other options out there too. I just, you know, that's the one thing I did bring in to this goal setting session, so.
Thank you.
Okay,
Would that software be able to like track homeowner occupied houses, or are we just kind of gearing towards the rental end of it?
Oh, everything. Yeah, any civil stuff. I deal with home occupied stuff all the time, civil fractions.
What program do bigger cities use? Because, I mean, you could go to like the courthouse in Davenport and give them an address, and they're gonna get on their computer and they're gonna pull all of the information up.
We have Beacon for the county, you know, Beacon Snyder, and I can go on their website, and I can go on some other, you know, our own paper records, I can talk to the police department, and the information's there, I just do the footwork to get it. Where I think if we had a program where if I did an abatement, like for example, I had an officer call me today, hey, have you been dealing with this, thing in this property? And I didn't know about it. He was there, so he was gonna deal with it. That's the communication we need to have. But sometimes that don't happen. But if I knew, if I was dealing with it and he could look that property up and say, oh yeah, Brad's already dealt with that, we're done.
okay. I'm gonna move on to the next one, and we can come back to any of these too.
Thank you.
But I wanna move on to the next one.
Brad.
Number 4, water wastewater division continue to contract or onboard to the city. Okay, everybody understands that one? Number 5, easy to understand, an annexation study. Probably haven't had one here for a long time. Long time, okay? Number 6, a child care study, that's another one I see quite often, okay?
Have that already in place, it's already being done.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's already underway.
oh, so we can cross that one off? Okay, everybody on board, we'll cross that one off? Okay, we're gonna take 6 off. Number 7, strengthen the nuisance abatement ordinances.
They about as strong as they can be, or can they be stronger?
Brad's just the star of the show tonight.
Yeah. Okay,
Here's my comment to that. We lost a junkyard case. We should not have lost it. Every attorney would say that, and we found a way, judge found a way to say no. And so that's where we're paused at the moment. So I would counter this point with what can we do to make sure that we're getting a fair shot in court if we get that way? Because it's the only case Brad's lost, and it's an important one to the community. So I don't know that we need to strengthen them, but we need to find avenues to better cooperation or find a way to make sure that it's handled 100% correctly and with force. So I think we walked into that case and it could have been more strongly presented.
okay. Let's see, number 8, create a plan for abandoned and neglected buildings. Number 9, contract with the newspaper so job listings are added without costing employer fees. Okay, number 10, support community engagement events in every way possible. Okay, number 11, determine how the city wants to invest in economic development / community engagement. Okay, you want a little explanation? Okay. Once again, I don't know who the author is, but if the author wants to expand upon that, feel free.
Councilwoman,
Okay.
That's mine. This budget cycle was we did 54,000 with JCA and 20,000 with the Chamber of Commerce. This is the last contract year of 6 years the city's engaged with those contracts. So my question to you, to the council, and for discussion is, how do you want to approach this in the future? And like Pat has shared, I think I have a lot of concern for continuity, creating backup for Brad for when he seeks to take more time off permanently. He maybe stays with us, but realistically, what if I was gone for a month or more? You know, I think that we need to be thinking this way as an organization. If Andrea was to leave, who's Andrea's backup? You know, I just want to make sure that we're thinking about this as a city. And $80,000 for the city's economic development programs is pretty high relatively. DeWitt has DeWitt Development Corporation at about 55. That was as of last year or 2 years ago. I don't know where that number sat in this last budget cycle, but it's a question worth asking. This is, you know, I came in and we also employed a broker. It's the first time I've had a broker relationship. And so as we're looking into this process and thinking about future budget cycles and that continuity question, I want to have that continue to be a point of focus.
Yeah, you're probably going to see more of these kinds of discussions going forward because of what the state legislature has done to your ability to raise revenues to fund all these things. And I've had a few cities out there where they've had to pull back to the point where they just do the basics. Police, fire, streets, you know, simply because they don't have the money to do all those great things that they used to do. So probably a good discussion to have. So does that answer your question though? Okay. Number 12, Hearst Hotel, finding new ownership and grant funding to make it viable again. Is it sitting empty now?
No, the people go in and out of there all the time.
Do they? Okay. Okay.
I don't know if they're living in the room.
They're coming and going.
Does nobody own it, or is it just like what?
Okay, just walk away?
It's under the same management company still, and they're working with a new owner, a new developer, to close on it, and they're going to be using housing tax credits to keep it low-income senior housing. It's empty currently, or supposed to be empty. It's probably going to be a year or two before the doors open back up because they're going to be going through rehab on that building.
Okay. Number 13, the old hospital location and turning a liability into an asset. Just a little side note, when I was city manager, right before this building was built, one of the options on the table for the council was, do we build a new building, remodel what's across the street, or do we buy the old hospital, or a chunk of the old hospital, and turn it into City Hall? Obviously, I think we made a good choice here, which will serve you for a long time. I was amazed how good the building looks, 35 years ago. We set the cornerstone.
I think there's a possibility of a real liability there.
Yeah.
I agree with the mayor. I think the longer that goes and how the
Yeah.
situation's gone up and down, the longer that goes, the worse it's gonna get.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna get bad real fast.
It is sitting empty now?
I don't have any doubts that it's gonna get bad
For the most part, yeah. Yeah. You might reach out to a few other communities that had to deal with like empty school buildings or empty hospitals and see what creative things they might have come up with, because you're not the only one to face a situation where there's an older building that is empty and just going down, down, down. And like Kevin said, it come to the point it's going to be too late.
I mean, you wait till this weather starts to turn cold,
Yeah.
you're gonna have people living in that thing.
Yeah. So, okay. Any questions on that one? Let's go to number 14. Adopt a parking ordinance to limit the number of cars on properties. I know a location where that might be important. Okay, any questions on that one?
I mean, is that something we could actually do, like to tell people how many cars they can have on their property? I mean, is that?
You've got quite a bit of flexibility there. Yeah, that's obviously a good question for your city attorney.
You know what I mean?
But I think that's something that is possible. Yeah, I've never had to address that, but I would think, you keep in mind, in Iowa, we have what is called home rule, okay? With home rule, unless the state says you can't put a restriction on that or you can't do this, it's pretty wide open where you can do things that you are not prohibited from doing, okay? Now, whether or not you do it or not is another story, yes.
Now, is this something that is strictly pointed at private property, or is this broad-based?
It could be broad-based, yeah, it could be, yeah. Once again, I'm not the author, so if the author wants to kind of offer what their thoughts were on it.
I just think you see a lot of, who wants their neighbor to have, 3 cars up on blocks in the
Yeah.
backyard
Yeah.
and 6 parked in the front and all
Yeah.
of that? I would say,
Yeah, because,
we have an ordinance, but it's, it's not a particularly strong one. Certainly other cities have much stronger ordinances.
yeah. By the way, if you want to see other cities' ordinances, vast majority of them have them online now. And just go down, like I had to look up a city ordinance this morning and went right to the city's website. Within 2 minutes, I had the ordinance I wanted. So, okay, let's go to number 15, strengthen the rental housing ordinance. Okay. Let's go to number 16, adopt an ordinance for golf cart usage within the city limits. See that one a lot, okay? And I've seen it go both ways.
We're on our way to having that.
Do you allow golf carts now on city streets?
Working on
We do not, okay, all right. Some cities do. Yeah, okay. Number 17, change the fee for vehicles parked over the sidewalk. $7.50 is not a deterrent.
Does that mean like the driveway, they pull in their driveway and they're parked over the sidewalk?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't even know there was a deterrent.
We have limited sidewalks anyway, so
Oh,
when
gosh,
you're
yeah.
walking with kids and
Yeah.
there's a sidewalk there and you've got cars there, so you have no choice but to go into the road
Yeah,
and around.
yeah.
Absolutely, but I
And
The
I
problem-
see it often walking with
The
the
problem you
driveways.
run into is with the kid going to school, not paying attention because he's just focused on the sidewalk. Now it's blocked, he's got to go out into the street.
So,
Dangerous situation.
Yeah, yeah,
so I think we could look at this even in broader scope and increase our parking fines in general. $7.50 is not a deterrent, whether it's for over the sidewalk or anywhere. So I think this is just a good one that we look at increasing overall.
yeah. Okay. All right. Number 18, adopt an ordinance that fines teens / their parents that are at the parks long after the closing time. Most cities do have that kind of an ordinance. Yeah. And number 19, enforce the current ordinances and policies. I always tell cities, do not adopt a policy or an ordinance unless you are willing to enforce it, okay? Because the worst thing you can do is adopt it and then not enforce it. Okay, number 20, what Josh was talking about, cross-training of city employees. Okay, number 21, update job descriptions. Which, by the way, if you do that, I have a handout that I got years and years ago that might be helpful. It's written by an attorney on what should and should not go into a job description. So, number 22, health and wellness program for employees. Number 23, financial incentives for city residency for employees. I see that talked about, but I don't remember seeing a city that has done that yet.
Well, what is that?
A financial incentive for city residency for city employees.
So this one may have been mine. What you're seeing on the law enforcement realm is back when I started, back in the day, there was a residency requirement for law enforcement.
I remember.
The reality is you lose a lot of good candidates that way. So what a lot of cities have gone to is instead of restricting where you can live, they try to make an incentive to be a part of the community.
Yeah,
So there's several cities in the state of Iowa that are doing that now.
yeah. In other words, using the carrot instead of the stick.
Financial.
Yeah.
It could be, whatever.
Yep. And what kind of dovetails with what we talked about earlier, and that is finding employees, finding people to take these jobs. So let's see, number 24, figure out a way to enhance city communications.
Goes with what Mr. Brad said.
Yeah, yeah.
It does. Fits right in.
Yeah, perfect, yeah. Number 25, study regarding public camera systems, FLOC. Now, is FLOC an acronym, or is that the name of a company?
It's a name of a company.
Name of a company, okay, all right.
Are you talking, I'm assuming this is yours, are you talking about like a public camera systems throughout the entire city, or are you talking about like in parks or?
For the flock system, you put it on your entry points of town,
Okay,
and it catches license plates of vehicles coming and going. It can be instrumental in solving a number of different crimes.
nice.
Yeah. Okay,
We, Public Safety Committee looked at this a couple of years ago, and it was right on the heels of a couple Tyson's burglaries where firearms were stolen, and that was kind of the theme. And I think Sergeant Pirtle picked up a warrant at Walmart that had just happened, and we were looking at a system, I think it was by sector though, not flock.
There are two different systems.
Either way, we haven't talked about it since. But that's where that came from, is experimenting with the idea, not experimenting, but at least starting to talk about what that system might do for us to protect those businesses and also make sure that, I guess, our safety is enhanced in town to make sure that we become known as a place that crime it gets caught.
Sure.
And, you know, our police department did a good job of capturing those folks involved with Tyson, but yeah.
okay. For the next one. All right, okay. Okay, let's see, we're at number 26, yeah, sector, safe city.
So what this is this is a company we explored, actually the one we brought in front of public safety. Financial concerns are all over the city, right, on how we fund stuff. What I brought to the city last time was a camera system that would also be a revenue generating system with it, and it was free to install. Anyway, they offer several things that can generate revenue within the city, including, I think it's EMI points, basically data collection points throughout the city, which also can help solve crimes, and it's can be financially incentivizing for a city to have. There's a whole bunch of different things they offer, and this is just another way that I'm trying to look at to raise revenue to operate instead of always being in the red, I guess.
Okay, all right. Number 27, produce an ADA inventory, rating scale, and citywide improvement plan for all city intersections. Number 28, taking more pride in city-owned properties. I always tell cities, if you're going to be serious about nuisance abatement, make sure you look in your own backyard and make sure that they look okay. Okay, number 29, keep the same level of quality services by maintaining programs, policies, and ordinances. Which, that's going to be a challenge for a lot of cities going forward. Number 30, make sure the CIP purchases budgeted get completed in that fiscal year. It's a good goal to have, but there are some projects that are so big that they cover more than one fiscal year. So, you know, wastewater treatment plants are a prime example. Major water projects are a prime example. They don't, it's nice to get them done in one fiscal year, but that doesn't, you can't guarantee that. So, number 31, determine what the next $5 to $10 million bond investment covers. Debt capacity has significantly lowered. Within the next 3 to 5 years, the city council needs to consider what next Opinions, passions will vary, but it's important to plan. This is what tonight's all about, is to start throwing out those ideas. So I had a smile when I read that one. I thought, well, it fits right into why you do this. So, and the last one, number 32, is the aquatic study, pool versus major splash pad, location considerations, scale of the project, who manages it, and who fundraises for it.
Looks to me like 31 segues right into 32, to be honest with you. I mean, many people that I've talked to over the last 10 years, they all want a pool or a splash pad. It's something the
Yeah.
citizens want.
I agree.
I mean, there's not two ways around it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it should be well up on the list if you ask me.
Yeah,
But you ask anybody in town, they want one of those two things, like,
yeah.
But nobody wants to pay for it.
Yeah. And the other word of caution I will give you is that I have yet to find any city that's told me, yes, the pool revenues cover all the cost. You have to put property tax dollars into it. So you need to identify where is the money going to come from to subsidize the swimming pool, because I have yet to find one that pays its own way. Just doesn't seem to happen. I do workshops on capital improvements planning. I always ask that question. In all my years of doing it, I've never had one hand go up. So,
in the same sense, I mean, taxpayers should be able to, like, enjoy their taxpayer dollars.
Yes,
Even-
exactly.
Even if it doesn't make
Yeah.
money, they still should be able to enjoy their
Yeah.
taxpayer dollars.
yeah. So,
But they won't enjoy it long if we don't have some plan to keep it.
but it is
viable.
unusual for a city this size not to have an outdoor pool or an outdoor splash pad. I grant you that. But you do also have,
And lowered.
you have a pretty nice indoor pool.
It's possible with our debt being as low as what it is. So, like I said, they just kind of segue into each other is all I was basically saying.
Just to tell you how old I am, when I came to town in 1978, they were finishing up the swimming pool. They were just finishing it up, and it was a huge fight. The huge fight was between the school and the city, and which one got the economic development grant to build a pool. They both wanted it, and the city won out.
Hey, Pat,
Little bit of history there for you.
I was gonna turn over to Scott in a second.
Yeah.
But, you know, Scott and I have been working together for the last year, thinking about this project, and we've traveled to a couple different splash pads. I recreationally, because the river's been too high, I've been to a couple different pools here the last couple weekends with the family, and
Oh, yeah.
I worked as a lifeguard, and I've experienced troublemaking middle schoolers that don't listen, and saw it at the Scott County Public Park Pool this weekend. And I think it's something that's pretty popular in town. I just, you know, I'm extremely cautious because I don't want to bury us in a problem that we're not ready to fully manage correctly. So I'm here to listen and to follow everyone's orders. You know, what I've told Pat pretty much is I think that Scott and the YMCA are a critical piece of coming along on this project. And, you know, Scott is an extremely good fundraiser, and it's a very important body, and people are very familiar with giving to the YMCA for these purposes. So whatever we decide to do in the next year, 2, 3, whatever the case may be, I think it's important to make sure that we're giving the Y and Scott an opportunity to be a part of that process. So before I turn it over to Scott, I just wanted to make sure that you all kind of understood what I meant by what I wrote in this one, about making sure that we choose the correct sort of aquatic mission before we go too far.
No, I appreciate that. I think one of the most important things is the why is separate from the project. I think so often people say, well, the why, the why, the why. Let's all keep in mind the YMCA is contracted to run a city building. We have city equipment. We manage city revenues, city expenses. So as we're having this conversation, keep the why, I would encourage you to keep the why separate from. Maybe it was an ARC, maybe it's a city rec facility, maybe insert name. But the reality is that is our city building. So it has the YMCA name on it, certainly, but that is a city building. And I'm not sure the taxpayers as a whole, I think we've come a long ways in educating people, but I think there's still a lot of people who, oh, well, the why, as if it's separate from, we're a part of it. I'm at the department head meetings, I'm in the communities, I'm at the sports fields, so I'm as much a part of this community as anybody else. So just kind of throw that out.
All right, good point. Other comments, observations? Anything of these 22 items, or 32 items rather, that you need to go back? Final questions? Any other comments? Did we miss anything? Is there anything that needs to be added to this list? Once again, if it's a bricks and mortar project, that's on the next list, okay? These are things like studies, ordinances, new policies. Anything we've overlooked? Okay, I have down that we struck number 6. We've left everything else. So we are looking at 31 items. And typically, I would ask you to pick, kind of my cutoff is look at 32 and cut it at no more than a third of that. So obviously, we'd have no more than 10. Other cities are saying, no, that's too many. Let's scale it back to 6, 7, 8. I let you folks kind of determine that. If you have a feel for, I can give you 10. Yeah, that sometimes is a good way to go because then it really jumps out at you. Because what I'm going to do after you finish this process, I'm going to take those sheets home with me. Well, actually, I'm going to give Joshua a chance to put his dots on there too, because he couldn't be here tonight. But after all the dots are on there, I will give you a complete listing of all the items in the order in which you have ranked them. So if something has, the most dots of anything else, that's going to go at the top. And then we just filter our way down. So the number sometimes isn't as critical as how many total dots they have in comparison to other ones. So, but like I said, typically I would give you about 8 or so for this. That work for everybody?
Sounds ample.
Y'all good with that? Okay. I'm gonna need a little help, okay? I've got the dots over here. They come on sheets of 5 or strips of 5, but we're gonna give you a 5 and then 3 more. And finish your review. Well, we're getting those ready for you. Finish your review of what you want your top 8 items to be. Maybe circle them so that when I give you the dots, you're ready to go. Also, give me a chance to get these sheets up. And once again, once you get your dots, put your initials on them. I did this process one time, and a very elderly gentleman put up he had 8 of them, I think. He put up 4 of them, and he pondered, and he couldn't make up his mind where he wanted his last 4. And then he looked back up at them, and he couldn't remember where he put his first 4. Okay. So, plus 1 dot per project. You can't put all 8 dots on one project, okay? Or now you can't put 2 on one. 1 dot per project. Same rules apply to department heads. Now, the department heads, you're going to put your dots in this first column, okay? Council, you're going to put your dots in this column, okay? And there's going to be 4 sheets up in the wall once we get them ready to go. So the good news is I don't have a lot of changes to make. Sometimes I have to.
So we are not going to combine any of these?
Well, if you think we should, now is the time to do it. Do you think there's any items on here you would like to combine? I kind of, as I go down through that, I kind of watch for that. There's been 1 or 2 I thought maybe we could, but
25 and 26, I mean, are they basically the same?
yeah, I was
but
wondering about that.
I
What do you
think-
think? Want to combine 25 and 26? All right, we're going to combine 25 and 26. Okay. Did anyone see any other ones that you would like to combine?
Yes, but I'm feeling pressured.
Okay. All right. And like I said, we have struck number 6, so don't put your dot on number 6. Actually, I'll take it off.
Were we gonna scratch 16 since that's active?
16.
Yeah, that's active.
So, did I get that right? 16?
Correct.
Or to strike it? Okay, I'll take 16 off. Okay. Any other changes?
Yeah. Can we take 24 and put it right up there with number 3 on the software more efficient, effective?
Oh, yeah. 24 and
Because
3.
Even though it's one thing, communications is huge,
Yeah.
but this would help that.
Yeah. I'll go back to my original author. What are your thoughts? Okay?
Okay.
All right, we're going to combine 24
And 3.
with 3. Okay. All right. Anything else?
Just an idea, since we only have 8 dots, 17, 18, and 19, is that something more that we could just send to committee base? Not really a goal as a whole, but I don't know
Well-
what everybody else thinks.
Strengthen. Yeah,
Just kind of
review.
pay attention to our ordinances and different things like that. I mean, it's really not a,
And that could very well be the case. I would say if that's kind of a routine thing, I wouldn't put a dot on it then. Yeah, just we don't put a dot on that. If suddenly we look and there's 10 dots on there, somebody said that's pretty important.
Yeah.
So, but that's why you have sometimes I've had council members kind of put items on the list that they personally aren't going to put a dot on, but they want to just throw it out there anyway, just kind of put it in the forefront. So, okay.
But
Yep.
what was the end result for 17, 18, and 19? Are they combined or still separate items?
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I just, to me, they're not really goals. I mean, they're already.
There was
things
some
that we-
discussion about 17, making it all those fines,
Yeah.
not just that one particular parking over the sidewalk, but reviewing all the fines levels. I can certainly modify that and add that to it. Okay, I'll just leave it the way it is here then, okay?
For 30, can we add strengthen our CIPs?
Sure. Okay, I'll insert the word strengthen in there. Okay, as I promised you, I'm going to give you just a brief moment. If there's any items on this list that you want to do a sales pitch to your fellow council members and say, boy, this is important. I think we've had some pretty good discussions on some of the things, so I think you probably know how some people are thinking, so not hearing anything from the council. Department heads, one last chance. Anything on the list where you think, boy, I sure want to emphasize the importance of that one?
Brendan, how many tickets do you give out for like parking violations or the $7.50 type fees? How many do you typically give out?
It honestly varies. We've got officers that are very good at doing the enforcement on parking, especially in the downtown in the overnight hours. That's probably the area that gets focused on the most. Other times it is, it's complaint based. So if
Fees still $7.50? Like,
correct, the only parking fee that's different is our snow route fees, we raised to $50 fines. I think that was last year or the year before.
Okay.
generate some pretty good revenue then if you have a lot of plates and you're writing a lot of citations there in the downtown area.
Yeah, it really, it can. Again, parking enforcement is one of those things that, it's probably not done on a consistent basis. And a lot of it is because that is a low level, of importance of a crime, I guess.
Right.
The one thing, since I have the mic, I would love to talk more about that camera system. And they are two different systems. One is going to cost us money to have and function. Another one would revenue generated, and it would be violator-driven funds. And there's a lot to that I think that safe city option really works into. And it's not about necessarily revenue generating. Yes, that is a part of it. But it's about helping us solve crimes that we wouldn't otherwise solve. It's getting that information of who's in our community, what are they doing here, and when are they here. And at the end of the day, I know the idea of Big Brother can be a little unnerving to people, or data collection on that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, we're doing it already. Anywhere we're in public, we're probably on camera. So it's a way for us as a police department to become more efficient, and a way for our city to benefit from it as well.
All right. All right, ready to vote?
I personally think we need a aquatic something.
Agree.
I do too.
Well, this starts out with, this basic study, what the, yeah, we don't know what the end result of that study might be, but at least get it out there. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and get the big sheets ready. Just refresh your memory, we're gonna combine 3 and 24. We struck 6. We struck number 16, and we're combining 25 and 26. Okay?
Are they going first, or we just go when we're ready?
So we get 8.
With your initials on it. And only one per slot.
I'll put my name on anything, that's all right, it don't matter.
Absolutely.
Can I have 16?
The road here is gonna cut down.
I'll sell you
I
5.
mean, I'll go for 32.
Thank you.
Okay, my initials are gonna look pretty crappy.
Just put an X on it,
Lick
we'll
'em.
know who it is.
Just lick 'em, put your stamp on there.
My DNA.
Yeah.
X.
Fingerprint them. The spec is what?
Okay, that's it. So I got one.
Mayor got one, that's it.
Thank you, sir. I'll trade you 2, give me 4. Yeah, all right, it's 5, never mind. No, they're 5's, okay. Give me 2 more. Thanks, sir. 5, 6, 7,
Well,
8, yep.
that looks like a G.
Yes, city council's here.
What color is the department head?
No, definitely the same color, we're just gonna put it in different.
They're gonna do 8 too?
Oh, we could do a different color. I don't care what you wanna do. Yeah, just do it.
Different color.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Taking my papers. Inadvertently get the wrong one.
That's right.
Oh, you don't have 3 of your stickers?
No, I have my, wait, the other 3 sheets of paper.
What do I gotta do? Just put your initial on.
Top priorities.
I think I can hear it.
Okay.
Don't forget to put your initials on. Yeah. Gotta put your initials on, yeah. Yeah, put your initials on. Just stick that one. Yeah, fold it in. All right, spread them out a little bit. We're good, they're all up there. Did you hang out with the rest of the Callahan's today? No, I didn't. No time for that. No? Sure. Another commitment to see around, so I didn't, you know, my brother Tom.
Make sure these numbers combined, numbers are.
Where do you at,
Oh,
Tom?
do you?
Yeah, so just right up from your brother.
You need to talk.
13, I think.
That's your
What number?
situation.
13, I think.
I'm
Well,
getting
both,
my,
both
I'm
your
hearing
kids,
a lot.
both
I'm
your
hearing a
kids
lot
ref
about it.
sports for me and, oh yeah.
Pat, Brad, do you have another one down there?
Yeah, there's one more down there.
Oh, it's down on the table.
Gotcha.
It's a rooster.
Yeah. You know, so it's like,
They're gonna have papers on the
That is,
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's, to me, it is
Micronesians have like 10 couples.
I like watching football.
They pile in.
Well, nuts and bolts. Excuse me.
For measuring acid.
See, and that's what makes it hard too, because there's things I would like to know.
Before you run it. Unless you say yes, in which case.
I changed my mind.
Very disappointed.
I was gonna say, if you say yes, then you can't change it.
Do it.
Actually, they teach classes on how to.
We're waiting for that one. They're combining.
The other one's down here on the table.
If you remember this one thing. Your kids
The other people's off, I don't sleep very well.
Oh, shoot, she lost us. Oh, are we doing that one over there? Or is that one coming up here?
For pay increase for the,
Scratch the table.
Okay.
That is definitely needed.
Is there another one that we're putting up?
It's gotta be 26 and 27 combined.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, keep going.
But, yeah, but I got so much stuff I need to just get rid of.
You always want all that stuff and then.
Yeah, or, you know, you just don't need it anymore.
Or you don't need it.
At one time you needed it, but you don't need it now. Whoop, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Wait, are you moving it again?
I set it off to the side and forgot about it.
It's down there.
Yeah, let me put this on. I'm sorry.
You're missing one, you guys.
I knew there was four.
I got 10.
You did?
Yeah,
I just-
I do another
I forgot to
round.
put this one
Yeah,
on.
heck yeah.
Direction four.
I'm putting them all on. I'm putting them all on, John.
Yeah, you
A lot of stickers.
I'm following,
I got-
following.
I got distracted.
Yeah, everybody's gonna tack you down
There was
because.
something missing. I'm out of stickers, so I'll go with what I got.
Oh, I'm guessing number 13 is yet. Oh, no, not too bad. Something else here.
Housing was on one of them.
I went to high school, I went to Traverse City.
I got a gym workout for a minute.
You know, it's funny, because doing these, strategic, 5, 10.
That's easy.
Hope there's liquor.
Fortunately, no.
Didn't we have that though? I mean, we had like the 3 days when we did the 10 effective ways to be a city council member. Remember we did?
Right, but it was this all, but there was that communication, there was writing on the walls, there was, and then after, you know, you total up and then you did total up the number, and they did a calculus of the number of the people in the room, divvy it up, and you got 5, whatever number to pick and choose, and then there was compromise of what could add, yeah.
What was
It
that
ended up
for?
being strategic planning. 5-year, 10-year plans. It was like each department, and it all rolled up to the strategic. You had to consider the corporate plan. It was like, I don't know why we bothered, you're paying me for 3 days of doing that. All right.
I've had to resort to this right here. These are well, this is my garden that's super toxic, so we don't do anything in there.
Can get through the next thing faster than we did the last. What do you think? Are we learning here?
I should go out and get another bottle of water.
Texted Kyle, started. I said, "You cannot believe you managed to get out of this."
what's going on in Strawberry Point?
Yeah.
Like, the entire fire department quit. Right, because like the council, they would try to have like a pancake breakfast and the council would say no, like any, they were just trying to fundraise on their own. Every time they tried something, there's somebody like on the council that hated like somebody in the fire department or
Okay.
whatever.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
You got everybody got their dots up there?
So.
Are you missing
a couple
any?
Weeks ago, everybody just turned in their pagers, like the entire fire department said, that's it, we're done. And,
Got their attention?
got their attention, got all kinds of TV coverage, but, and they had a new city administrator, like his second week there, like this lands in his lap, you know? It was like,
What's been going on here?
It's just like, whoa, it's like, I'm
all
gonna get
done?
everybody together, we're gonna talk this through, like, but, just like, oh my god, just
I think I'll go ahead and. I'll give a quick update of what's up there.
It's ridiculous that I had to find out.
Brad would never do that.
If you want to know which ones ranked high, I'll go down through here and, let's see, council members, we have 6 of you putting up dots? Yeah, those, yeah, 6 of you, okay. So I'm going to look for like 4 or more. Additional revenues, number 2, number 3, the software, the communication. 7, strengthening the nuisance abatement. Here's a number 11, the economic development, community engagement, 1, number 11. Number 13 got 4. That's the old hospital location. All right. Another one that got 4 was the camera, public camera system in the sector. And the last 2 that got 4 is number 30, the CIP purchases and the bond investment cover. So, once again, you're going to see these ranked in order of at the most dots. Now, we also have to have Josh put his up there, and so we'll wait till do a final count until Josh gets back. Is he out of town?
Hollister is traveling right now.
Traveling. Okay. Do you know when he's going to be back? Okay.
Call him.
Here we go, somebody.
I'm sure he'd welcome a dinner.
Yeah. So as soon as he gets back, I'll probably shoot a picture of all of them, and before I leave tonight. But I'm going to leave these here for him to come in at his convenience and put those up. So, okay. Any questions on what you saw? Okay. Let's go to Exhibit D, and that is the capital projects. These are items that will obviously require some thought as to how you're going to pay for them. And so some of these are some big ticket items. Some are not that expensive, but let's go down through them then one by one, just like we did before. Number 1, street improvements. Continue the 10-year street plan. Which, by the way, when I was here in 1980, I did a 10-year street plan as well. So, number 2, some streets have no sidewalks. Butternut is one. Number 3, a street department facility. Number 4, ensure that equipment is maintained to respond effectively. Okay. Number 5, obtain the Safe Streets for All, SSAA, grant applied for in May of '24, still pending. Okay. Number 6, water and sewer projects. Determine exactly which areas in town are the most critical water main break areas and resolve to expend bond resources to replace pipes. Number 7, underground infrastructure and size, specifically replacing or lining sanitary sewer lines. If you have a lot of infiltration of you know, the rainwater into your system. I see that quite often, of doing the lining of the sewer lines. And the same thing, number 8's a follow-up, replacing some old brick manholes. I'm surprised you still have some of those. Okay. Number 9, plan to remove existing asbestos cement water mains. Okay. I didn't realize you still had some of those.
Is there a lot?
There is not. We have a section out by the old Happy Joe's. We have a section out by the old Happy Joe's, and as many of you know, that Fawn Brook was asbestos cement, and when someone touches it with an excavator and it flaws it, it is DNR mandated, it gets replaced immediately. So we need to look ahead because we have a section that goes down out there past Happy Joe's. We're not sure quite how far it is. We do have some old maps that show from Summit Street, probably past the storage units. And then there was an older section on Summit Street where Angus and that come into it, and they're not sure if that's replaced, so it would have to be dug up to see, but yeah, that's something that probably should be looked at. We do test every August for asbestos in the system, and it's very, very low, but we should do that before it gets disrupted.
Okay. All right, number 10, look at looping water mains for better water.
No idea what that is. It sounds like fun.
Right?
Yeah.
So we probably have 20 to 25 dead-end fire hydrants in town, and if we loop them to a water main like a block away, then the water's continuous and it doesn't sit and get stale. And it's usually a matter of a block or two. It just helps the system. It's because the system was built and maybe that's where it stopped, and then when they started again, they didn't put the main in between for whatever reasons.
Yep. Okay, number 11, move from gas to liquidation chlorination.
Okay.
It's water department again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so with the new wastewater plant, we had gas chlorination and we went to UV, so we don't have gas chlorination there anymore. And gas chlorination is very, very hazardous. And so I am looking at it at the water plant right now. I actually have bought some of the equipment and I'm working with the DNR. So we probably can cross that out because I am going to liquid chlorine just because last year we had a gas chlorine leak that actually hit Joey in the chest, and we wear equipment to keep us safe, and had he not had that on, it probably would have been a whole different situation. But we are getting away from that.
So they don't need to vote on number 11. Okay, so we're gonna cross number 11 off. Okay. Number 12, look at pros and cons of fluoridation.
So I'm going to go ahead and just talk about this because fluoridation is not required by the DNR. Fluoride is added. It has been added in Maquoketa for many, many years.
1978.
Okay, there you go, 1978. So I have had actually a lot of people stop in just the last couple of months and ask me why we still add it. I know they've tried to discontinue it a couple times and the dentists freak out. But nowadays you can buy bottled water with fluoride in it. I grew up on a farm in Bernard, and we had fluoride treatments. We'd come to the dentist and they'd give us fluoride treatments because we didn't have fluoride in our water. And I have good teeth yet, so it's one of those things that the council should look at and make the decision. There's pros and cons to it.
Major controversy when I got to town.
Very.
Oh,
Yeah, my dad
man.
was dead set against
we were, it was predicted we'd all be dead in 2 years.
I missed that one.
Oh, it was something.
Things about fluoride have come out in the last 5 to 10 years too.
Yeah, but
It's
they
not-
tell you to,
It's not near as
don't
good
swallow
for you as
your
what they originally
toothpaste,
thought.
don't swallow your mouthwash. I mean, even when they do
What they're
fluoride
putting in
treatment,
water.
they're suctioning your mouth and rinsing it good. They don't want you to swallow that,
Yeah,
but they want you to
But it's
swallow
good
it in
for you.
water. Yeah, no.
yeah. It was a major controversy back then.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And understandably so,
Still
because
is.
we're learning more and more about it every day,
Yeah.
and we should look at it.
Well, I'm not
Yep.
against looking at it by any means.
I say let's bring it up.
Okay, number 13, Police Department Dispatch Building. Okay, number 14, keep,
Wait, can we go back to that,
yeah,
Brendan?
I'm trying to get away without
What's that mean?
a separate standalone building? Is that what you're?
I kind of touched on it, I think, in A or B. Couple things that we really are lacking in is our ADA accessibility in our current building. The other thing is our dispatch vulnerability where it's at. People have access to that lobby. There's a slot passing through. Ultimately, somebody could shut down our communication center. Our building was built in '88. It has not. We could probably do some upgrading, and so that's kind of what it is. It not necessarily have to do a whole new thing, but it's something that needs to be on the radar at some point moving forward.
Brandon, I got a question for you.
Sure.
I asked you about this a couple years ago, but has there, and maybe somebody else can answer too, maybe Josh Boulder, have they said what's gonna happen like when the county moves out to the jail and like all that space, will that space become available?
I don't have that answer, and that has actually been one really big misconception amongst our citizens, is that the police department is not moving. We are staying there. That the other half of the building is not ours. We do not have rights to it. It'll be up to the city and the county to decide what happens from there.
I mean, I've always looked at those steps that lead into, the dispatch, and they're hard to get up. I mean, I'm 45, I can still get up them. In 20 years, I ain't gonna be able to. But the backside, like where the sheriff's office is, you can walk almost straight in there. It's at ground level. And that's just something I always kind of looked at that, maybe we should look at as a city to maybe purchase it from the county if they're happy with what they got out there on the industrial drive, and they would give you guys more room and accessibility that way.
I will say we do have a ADA compliant elevator ramp. So it's not completely inaccessible, but the doors aren't ADA compliant as far as press buttons for them to open, so there's some shortcomings that way. But yes, and I would ask if we would ever entertain that thought, or if it even be an option that we move forward with an idea of what that plan would be, just not to acquire the building, to sit on it, to say, well, we can maybe do this, so.
I mean, honestly, like, as long as I've been with you on the safety committee, even with Brad, like, it's something I've always just kind of thought, like, hey, like, there's no reason why the city shouldn't even look into it, maybe put together a plan, because, I mean, there's all sorts of room for officer, like, well-being, maybe put a gym in there, something like that, so, I don't know, just some thoughts, man, that's all.
I appreciate you guys being open-minded.
Okay. Number 14, keep police and fire updated.
That's kind of a,
Equipment-wise.
equipment-wise,
I
couple
probably should
words.
add that word
Yeah,
equipment
okay.
there. Equipment,
Updated about what?
Isn't
Okay.
that already in the works?
all right.
New fire truck.
I wondered that as well, but I assumed that's what they meant. Number 15, complete the walking/bike path, get rid of the gravel areas and make it paved. Okay. Number 16, complete the Grant Wood Loop Trail from the city all the way to the caves. That'd be pretty cool. Okay. All right, number 17, what we had talked about earlier. This is going beyond the study and look into actually constructing an outdoor swimming pool / splash pad. Number 18, indoor entertainment for preteens and teens, such as an arcade, pool tables, ping pong, skating, and food court.
Just a note on that one.
Mm-hmm.
The bowling alley here does have some of those
Yes.
options
Mhm. Okay.
for the
Grant you,
teens.
but there is also a bar in there.
There is.
I think something this town needs desperately is something for those preteens, so they're not in the parks doing vandalism
Right.
and everything else. Grant you, I know some of them aren't gonna go simply because it's just not cool.
But I wonder if it'd be something we could talk to Sam about and have her incorporate maybe like a teen night or something in the,
Yeah,
you know, in the other part.
Okay.
interesting.
Just brainstorming, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Number 19, a softball baseball complex. There's a number of them out there anymore where they have like 4 or 8
Indoor
fields.
one or an outdoor one or?
I'll hand it to Scott, but yeah, he can tell you his dream.
Well, as we consider recreational tourism, if you've been down to the DeWitt fourplex, that's typically what you would do so that you could host tournaments, bring people in from out of town. You really kind of step up your game. But that would not be a cheap proposition, but I think would certainly add to quality of life in our area.
Former Maquoketa resident Mick Mickle is really out there doing that sort of thing in Dyersville.
I was just gonna add that I think Whedon Asa or AC is his name. He's a very involved Micronesian. He mentions that we're just one clubplex away at all times from having 2,000 people here for a Micronesian baseball softball tournament. So if that's, you know, Brad's shaking his head, and you know, people know that community, there's some truth to that statement, and I believed him. But you know, to what investment? I think it's just something worth considering.
One little tidbit of information on history. I gave a tour years ago to a gentleman who was looking for a movie site, and he had certain criteria, and I thought I had it covered. And the next thing I know, he called me and says, well, it was okay, but we found something up by Dyersville that was just perfect for what we're going to do. Damn. All I knew was a movie about baseball. That's all I knew at the time.
We'd probably got screwed out of that $6 million check that Dyer
Yeah,
got screwed out of.
I was so frustrated when I found out what it was. Which, by the way, I'm old enough to have played baseball against some of the ghost players you see in the movie. I played against those guys years ago. Okay. Number 20, update the playground equipment in the parks. Okay, number 21, update or add bright lights to the parks to deter vandalism, to go along with the cameras. Okay. Number 22, downtown green space development. Okay. Number 23, YMCA capital campaign, splash pad, outdoor water, child watch, and multi-use space. Number 24, parks reinvestment, parking lots, new play features, rebuild First Ward Park. I didn't know if 20 and 24 should go together. I thought I'd let you decide that, so. Am I correct that maybe those two should go together?
Could go together.
Okay, so I'm gonna combine 20 and 24.
17 and 23 as well.
17 and 23 be the same? Yeah, you're right. Everybody on board with that?
Yep.
17 and 23 will be combined as well. Good point, thank you.
Need 22, the downtown green
That's
space
already-
development,
That's already like in the process, but
yeah. Do we,
Pat, this is our central square right out here, the area that burned, and they're $1.1 million fundraised. I mean, it's a near certainty
Oh,
at this point. So I agree. I think 22 can come off if that's
22?
okay.
Okay. I'm gonna strike 22. Everybody agree with that? Yep. All right, 22 is gonna come off. Okay. All right. Coming back to 25. Abandoned rundown buildings as home need to be demolished or fixed so they're usable. City needs to push harder to make these things happen. Okay, last one is number 26, installation of the public camera system. And did we cover that already somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, obviously, the other one is more of a study. This is actually doing it.
right,
Which one, do you want to keep them on both lists, or should I strike them from this one?
well, I would keep it on this one because this
Okay.
is doable versus
Okay,
study. He's
yeah.
already done the footwork.
Yep, we can do that. All right. Did we miss anything that should be on this list?
And I was gonna suggest combining 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
6 was mine. I'm pretty sure Jen put 7 in and accurately described it in half the amount of space.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm gonna combine 6 and 7. All right. Say that again?
21, would that be combined with 20 and 24 as a parks reinvestment?
I wondered about that too, yeah. 21 talks about the lights. Is that part of a park update?
I would think so.
Or would you put that with the safety, with the public camera system, or just keep it separate? I don't know.
Yeah.
One thought is 26, we don't have a consensus yet on buying the camera system, so having installation of the camera system is
Yeah.
something we don't have approved yet.
Yeah.
I think the study. I
Yeah,
think the study
so
should be
maybe we
done.
need to remove that until a later date.
Or keep it on the study part then.
Yeah.
We definitely keep it on the study, 'cause I mean,
Yeah, it's on the other part.
there's some
Yeah.
things that we're still trying to work through on it, isn't it?
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna strike it from this list then. 26 is gonna come off. Okay. Okay. Other corrections, changes, additions? Department heads, anything we've overlooked in your departments that you don't see here? Okay, let me review with you what changes I have, okay? I have combining 6 and 7. I'm striking number 11. Number 14, I'm just gonna add, we're talking about equipment on number 14. I'm combining 17 and 23. I'm combining 20 and 24. I'm striking number 22, and I'm striking 26.
The only thing I question about 24 is like, why First Ward Park? Like, why is that name specifically?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm all about park investment and putting playground equipment in, but, I mean, I don't know if we should have.
Are you
First Ward
suggesting we just talk about parks in
Yeah,
general
in
and
general,
strike
'cause I
reference
mean,
to
the park
any
board we
one
have is-
park?
Is a really good parks board, and
Yeah, I would
I mean, we've got everything broke down per park and what
Yeah.
needs to be done.
Yeah, I would eliminate the rebuild First Ward Park.
But just like
Okay.
the park investment, the parking lots and the playground equipment,
Shelters.
Yeah,
that'd just be one thing. I mean, I can definitely tell you I'm putting a mark by that without a doubt.
how would it be if
don't
I
like
just
the
strike
first-
First Word Park and put all parks?
Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Any other suggestions? Okay, where we, oh, before I get into the count, sales pitch on any items you want to put out to urge your fellow council members to vote for it?
I want to hear more about this softball
Soft-
complex. I want to hear a pitch on that.
Okay,
If
somebody want to give us,
another diamond to what we already have,
Yeah.
or is there space to do something like that?
So the Wiz is a hub where it's got a concession stand in the middle, and a field. So it gets used with a lot of people, sorry, a lot of people come and rent it, like travel baseball fields, softball people, and it gets used for like football, for like flag football for little kids. So it gets used for not just softball, baseball things. So it's more of 4 fields around and a big hub in the middle where people can kind of have, seating, they can bring their chairs, and there's a concession stand that gets used.
Can you come to the next, like, parks meeting and, like, talk to all of us about that? And, like, seriously. Scott, do you agree?
And it is run by the Park Center, so it'll be like a wide.
So it's
Yeah, we've
not a-
actually, it might come as a surprise, but Colin and I have talked about this on rare occasion. No, a couple thoughts we had. One was getting a little into the weeds, but over at, brain fart, the softball fields. There's room there for a reconstruction and do a fourplex there, but that's county property, so certainly we'd be talking about a partnership there. Or the property right next to the Y. would be more than adequate to do something there. And then if you move away from like a grove, that could turn into your soccer fields too, because that's another issue from a recreational standpoint is we don't have those dedicated soccer fields to the point where scheduling can be an issue. Moving games from Saturdays to Sundays, from Thursdays to Tuesdays, compressing seasons because there are events. Fairgrounds are very kind enough to allow us to utilize it, but they obviously need to, they can't cancel a show so that we can have soccer games. So you could kill two birds with one stone on that, so.
I was just going to add, I think a nice future study would be having Burlingame Fairgrounds, west side of Fairgrounds property studied for this sort of a solution. With Fairgrounds wanting to do more events, and they're more active than they've been ever since I've been here, which is only 2.5, but you know, you guys have much longer sample to look at. I think they're extremely active this summer, and it's probably a question they'd be willing to research and for us to help look at too, is how do you squeeze in the appropriate and scale the appropriate diamonds into that space. With Together We Build there, is there parking available to get everyone? I mentioned 2,000 people. There's no way, I don't think they could handle 2,000 people at that site, but there's a lot to study in that problem, and there's some major acquisition challenges behind the other solutions.
Okay. Anything, other projects you got a question on, comment, observations that you want to share? Department heads, anything else you want to put a plug in on, any of these items? Okay. All right, getting ready to cast your dots again. I count 16 projects left. Typically, I would give you about 5 dots for that. Y'all good with that? See how it shakes out, okay?
Yep.
All right, you might kind of ponder now which of the 5 you think are, and we'll get you 5 of these. They do come in strips of 5, so it's real easy. So, I'm gonna go with the pink one.
That is fucking terrifying.
Make sure everybody gets 5. Once
Are you
again,
fucking serious?
put your
And there's
initials
lots of
on there. I'm gonna update the sheets.
Or did you get the job of special help?
Thank you.
Actually, what we'll do is we'll put them between the other ones that are up there.
Can I have 6?
You can't. Stuffing the ballot box.
Right?
Oh, I totally forgot to.
Probably muting up my F-bombs.
Oh, that is true. I like to tell myself I like spicy stuff, but then after I have like one,
See, I was thinking 15 and 16 were almost the same, so I chose just to.
Coming to your house.
Jason, who's obviously.
I almost look at things like that, and I'm like,
list.
certain things have to happen.
So, and I really like, it's like honey mustard kind of thing. Oh, of course. So we opened up here,
But maybe I should.
bring that big sauce up.
assumption that I took.
Did, he never put it on the menu, but it was there if I asked for it. Well, I don't, obviously, then not a lot of people did.
Yeah,
Really did, I didn't
obviously
make
not.
Kelsey sent me a picture of the bottle, so now I ordered on Amazon. Which, by the way, I may or may not have been sitting on Geno's on Saturday night with a picture of their sauce from the bar. Got ordered, and I found that online, and I'm like, gonna start making me some Geno's pizzas. Well, Josh brought it up today, so, did you not hear about this yet? We're working on making a block party for September 14th. We're gonna put a family there that's right on the street. Just say that. Saturday. It's a Hawkeye home football game.
What's more important?
I think some run over team. It's pretty good.
Is it a home game?
Yeah. Our block party.
I still got 2 more.
It's gonna look really weird when I put these pink ones next to the green ones.
Especially once we buy that house next to him so bad.
Oh, God.
No, I'm done. I'm gonna slip off the bat.
I don't know that personally.
Been a good week to travel, wouldn't it?
One left. Gotta make it count.
That's a tough one because we got things here are things we just absolutely have to do versus
That's it.
back here,
I want
things
to
that we'd like to do.
everything on the list.
Yeah.
Why can't we?
That's right.
What's stopping us?
Make a big donation.
The governor.
I know, gotta win the lottery, right?
There we go. Might take more than a lottery with the governor.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think if I won the lottery, that'd be the last you'd see of me.
No, you just said this is where you were gonna live the rest of your life.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so don't win the lottery and leave us hanging.
Yeah, come on.
No, I do like it here. I really do.
I was just in Clinton last week, the restaurant, nice view of the river.
The candlelight. Candlelight. Yeah.
Great chicken.
Yeah. It's a great atmosphere there with all the windows all the way around looking out over the river.
All of us were very pleased with that.
Haven't been there in a little while.
They have my favorite wine.
Oh, do they?
Pinot Noir.
The kind that comes in a bottle.
Not a box?
It's from Oregon.
Not a box?
The wrap. What?
Tickled pink. Boots far.
No, when I was out, for work. I was in Portland, Oregon for a long time. 3 weeks at a time, multiple times, and on the weekends, I would just
Say,
kind of travel.
council, you're all up here, right?
Had this amazing Pinot Noir. I said, where
Okay, I'll let you know which ones scored high on this one. First one that scored high was the street improvements, number 1. Number 6, the water main breaks and the sewer mains, that scored high. It's got 6 on that. And let's see, nothing's got 4 here, but we've got a few of them with 3, so Josh may put a couple of these over the top. So, and then the other 2, the swimming pool splash pad, the YMCA campaign, that got 4. And then the last one here, the abandoned buildings, that one's got 4 as well. Okay? All right. Any questions on any of that? once again, we will do a complete summary of all those items in order of which the council ranked them, so you'll have that list. Okay, any questions, observations on that and those projects? Okay, a lot of good things. You know, and once again, keep in mind, simply because something didn't go all the way to the top, doesn't mean you can't work on it. Doesn't mean it can't become a priority down the road. So I remember doing this process years ago, I think when the flooding hit parts of Iowa. And a lot of these projects that I helped these cities put the list together changed completely because now suddenly storm sewers and flood walls and all that stuff became a much higher priority. So things change. So keep that in mind. Okay, I am ready to go to Exhibit E and wrap up the session here tonight. Exhibit E is which I kind of challenge you to think about how you get along with each other, the working relationship you have with the fellow council members, department heads, the public. And I always tell councils before I start this discussion is that when you're at this council chambers and you're seated as a council, this is, you're the window of Maquoketa to the rest of the world. Because I think you've got this great recording system and all that. So the image that you portray out to the public and to not only the public, but all of us who don't live in Maquoketa, very important, because many times it's kind of the first impression that people will have. So I always think it's critical to keep that in mind. And so therefore, it's always important to look professional and you're running a good meeting. One of the things I always recommend, and I have a handout on, is council rules and procedures. Now, do we have written council rules and procedures as to how your meetings are conducted and that sort of thing? So that's a good thing. I always recommend if you ever want to update yours and review them, I have like 3 examples that I've collected over the years. More than happy to share those with you. But I was at a workshop years ago where someone with the Iowa League of Cities, that was the primary focus of the workshop, was the importance of conducting good council meetings and having good rules and procedures. So those are handouts that I will share with you. The other thing I have over on the table here before we get into this last section is various handouts that I have collected over the years from doing stuff like this. And I don't hand them out to everybody. I don't give everybody a copy because some people aren't interested, and that's fine. But if you have an interest in any of these, they're all laid out on this table. I'll just go through them very quickly with you. This is a table of organization that the mayor of Cedar Falls did for his community before he opted not to run again. And then this is all the guiding documents that cities have to be aware of when they're taking action. And it blew me away when I seen someone put something together on one sheet of page, and then his chart, or organizational chart, which I thought was quite interesting. Obviously, Cedar Falls is a much larger city. The other sheet I have is this green sheet, and that is communicating with your citizens on telling them about this session and letting them know what you're doing. You know, one of the things that came up was communications. This is what I've seen other cities do, and I just put this handout together years ago. Another little handout that I have put together is something I did in Anamosa. I wish I would have done it here. I did not. But when I got to Anamosa, I started thinking, now what did I do in my last job that I should have done better? And this was one thing, and that is after you complete a goal-setting session like this, the worst thing you can do is stick it in a drawer somewhere and forget about it. And then a year from now say, oh yeah, we said we were gonna do those things. How many did we get done? This is what I call a quarterly update model. Very simple. You list the high priority projects on one side of the page, and then on the other side of the page, you show what's been accomplished in the last 90 days. So that you and the staff are kept up to date. Okay, we said we're gonna do that. What did we get done so far? Did we hire an engineer yet? Did we hire a consultant? Did we start taking bids? That sort of thing. So it's something to kind of hold your feet to the fire so you keep moving forward and get it done. The other thing I have over here is a pink sheet, which once you meet with the financial advisor and kind of look at doing these projects and you finalize your list of goals and objectives, this is critical part of the process, and that is putting together an action plan that takes the goal and objective and breaks it down into smaller steps so that you can see, if I'm going to get this project done, I need to do these various things, and then it assigns who's going to take the lead on that particular step and when they're going to get started on it. And more importantly, when do we hope they're going to complete that step in the process? So once again, cities that do goal setting, I always recommend you do these two things. The other thing I have is criteria for effective meeting, because in order to do all this stuff, you're going to have a number of meetings, and may not always be council meetings. And this talks about how to have a good, effective meeting where you get stuff done. And in the backside of something I wrote years ago when I was at the Institute of Public Affairs at the University of Iowa, and that is having a good working relationship with your boards and commissions, because they play an integral role in a lot of these projects that you're talking about. And it's critical that you have good people on those boards and commissions and that you communicate well with them and you have a good working relationship with them. So that yellow sheet talks about that. The other one I'm not so worried, think you probably need it here, but it's just a handy handout, and that is civility in government. Okay, I wrote this as part of a workshop that I did, and it's in bullet format, and it talks about why it's so important that we consider to be civil with each other and respectful of all different opinions. The next item I have is a summary of what I'm going to talk about a week from tonight over in Baldwin, and that is what I call the top 10 habits of highly effective city councils. What I have observed over the last 50 years of councils that seem to get a lot done versus ones that seem to just spin their wheels and get nothing done. So it's what I've observed over the years. Doesn't mean you do all 10 of them, but it means that those that have been successful have done many of these things. And the last handout I have is a capital improvements plan, which you folks have a capital improvements plan, but the thing that might be the most interest to you is telling your citizens why you do a capital improvements plan. And I borrowed something from David Letterman years ago where he always had his top 10 list. I used to love hearing his top 10 list is top 10 reasons why you would want to do a capital improvements plan. And then it goes into a little detail about what goes into putting a capital improvements plan. So you are welcome to pick up a copy of any of those handouts before you leave tonight and take them with you. And okay, let's go to Exhibit E, and that is your last thing we're going to do tonight. I'm not going to have you rank these like I told you in the memo. I'm just going to go down through them one by one, and if there's anything that you want to modify, or maybe you say, you know what, it really isn't pertinent. I don't think we need to state that because this will all become part of your report. So whether you want that in here, now is the time to tell me. And obviously you'll get another chance to critique this when you do your formal approval. But the first item, category I had is council meetings, okay? Number one, better communication at city council meetings. Number two, more discussion on issues at meetings. Number three, no drama or grandstanding. Number four, more sharing of board meetings to inform all of what's being discussed and proposed. And lastly, under this category, number five, city council meetings at council reports, each council member to give a brief verbal statement about what the boards they are on and doing and discussing. Kind of what I talked about on that yellow sheet, okay?
My suggestion, by the way. And the only reason I put it there is people like when I talk and council members during that time about the horseshoe pond or community garden, and they appreciate that. And I get emails and I get phone calls, and they like that excitement. People want us to be excited about our community, and they want us to show them that we're excited about it, get them excited about it, and in turn, it makes them, want to be more active themselves. So, I mean, if we're not excited about our town, we can't expect our constituents to be.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any questions on any of those five? Okay, under the category of boards and commissions, I had number 6, have at least 2 council members on each board. Number 7, appointing council members on the proper committee that best facilitates their expertise. And the last one, number 8, MMEU needs to start being treated as like a department within the city and not a private for-profit business.
I like that one. I didn't put it on there, I just.
Yeah.
I like it too.
I
I
like
didn't
that
know
one.
that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
If only we could do that.
Yeah, I don't know that that's legal.
Yeah, because they're pretty an autonomous board, yeah, but,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Which was, by the way, was actually put in by the voters. I don't know if you know that, but the voters approved the creation of the board.
a while back, like when Don was mayor, like, we had a discussion about bringing them back into the city and not having that.
Oh, you could, but it, once again, it has to go back to the voters.
Very complicated, and there were some things that,
Yeah,
but, I mean, I know it was talked about like
yeah,
just about 5 years ago, but.
okay, yeah, okay. And there may be some suggestions on that yellow sheet that I just referenced that might be helpful to discuss
Hey,
all
Pat,
3 of
may I?
those things. Yeah,
Maybe, you know, having been to a couple of their board meetings, there's like our meetings, there's no participation at those meetings. So if you have these questions or want to know more, that's your best avenue to learn why they're doing something. I don't think most people in town know they just finished a rate study.
No.
I couldn't tell you what they compared it against, but I know they just did a rate study to, you know, think about what they're charging for rates. But if you have these questions, go to their board meeting and respectfully ask a little bit about what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think they'd welcome that because they don't really get anyone to visit, at least in the 2 times I've been there, and I haven't heard from them that they're are having issues.
I've never been to one of their board meetings where they even had, I was the only outsider.
oh, yeah, yeah.
I went to a couple, my first couple years
Yeah.
out here, and it was just like, I don't know, it was different. It was a lot different than a city meeting, is what I took from it, but.
Interesting, when that board was created, it was created because citizens, a group of citizens came together and submitted the petition. So the council had no choice. They had to put it on the ballot, which I would venture to say the vast majority of council members were not in favor of doing it. But the voters said, yes, we will. And I don't think you've ever had another vote since to take it away, right? I don't think so.
Like the way Mayor Schranker said it to us was just like, he's like, that would be like a whole new revolution.
Yeah.
And I quote, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll quote it. He's like,
Vast
"You're
majority
exactly
of municipal utilities in the state of Iowa have a separate board. There's some out there, like Ames still has the council in charge, Webster City still has the council in
I would
charge.
just caution, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
kidding. I mean, I know it's complicated. I know it's a very complicated situation.
When I came here, I basically had to supervise the electric utility operations, and wow. And we spent a lot of time at council meetings on electric utility stuff. We really did. So you just assume you're gonna add a little more time to your council meetings, so. Okay, number 9, overall communication. Offer luncheons, dinners with city staff and council members during training programs.
I didn't put it, but I like it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Number 10, have interactive workshops. Have 2 officials face off with a hot topic and see how they communicate with different opinions. Offer guidance to make them more effective.
Fluoride.
That's a new one. I'd never seen that one before.
Doesn't this
That
contradict
would
number
be-
3 though? Like, doesn't this totally contradict number 3?
Yeah. Now, as long as you remain civil.
That's not what the citizens want to see.
Really not sure that, yeah.
Okay.
But you have a mediator, right? Is that what that suggests?
Yeah, moderator. Yeah, moderator. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Not that I'm against facing off with any of you guys. I think it would be pretty entertaining, but,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
You just never know.
yeah.
I'm down. I ain't gonna lie. I'm down.
Okay.
We sell tickets to it, we can make some money to build that splash pad.
Start selling
Right.
tickets, yeah.
See?
Okay.
We make up a championship belt too.
Yeah.
The belt.
Moving right along.
Revenue.
Number 11, city council needs to be more involved. Ask office staff questions. Okay.
Pat, I can back this one up just
Sure.
a little bit. I mean, it's kind of half and half with our city council. I just want to give everyone some confidence that if they want to learn some more about something, our office staff is there to answer questions, and if it's something complaint-driven, I'd like to know for sure and be involved so I can make sure it gets done. But anytime anyone wants to stop in City Hall to learn about why something is proposed or why we're recommending it that way, or you want printouts of the agenda material, we're open for those requests. So whoever wrote this, just know that you can come in anytime.
Okay. All right, let's see. Number 12, everyone needs to be involved in the city budgets each year. And I'm assuming you probably were, all of you were involved in that, right?
The finance committee was mostly involved. Yeah, everybody approves the budget.
Yeah,
All the
I used
department
to-
heads are
End
involved.
result, but it's-
I used to do the budget years ago as kind of a committee of the whole. The entire council was involved in it. And that's why I did it in Anamosa too. Yeah,
We haven't done that here for years.
okay,
Doesn't sound like fun.
okay. Okay, number 13, public meeting engagement to be valued higher, enhanced efforts to inform the public of public business. Once again, that handout I have you tonight gives you some ideas. The one thing I do not have on that handout is social media. Because I'm of the old school. I'm a little cautious on that because I've seen some cities get burned really bad on that, but that's, everyone's call. So, okay.
Are there any suggestions on that? And that kind of ties into the budget question about how to, are we doing enough? Are we not doing enough? I agree on the social media. Next thing you know, 18 hours go by and you're way behind. It's a tough thing to answer, and we do a lot for notice, but still, unless it's chickens and probably fluoride, it's tough to get people involved.
Exactly. Exactly. They call, you talk to them.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
I need you to come to the,
Yeah.
Nope, not doing it. And
Every once in a while, the league will do a workshop on what they call citizen engagement. And if you, and I would urge you, especially when the league conference is in this part of the state, this year it's in Sioux City. And as they say, you can't get there from here. It's a long ways away. But when they come back to this part of the state, I would urge you to seriously look at attending the Iowa League of Cities annual conference, because they have a number of different workshops. And I've done workshops at that league city conference for probably the last 25 years. And they bring in a lot of different speakers. So, but one of them I remember sitting in on was citizen engagement. And they might have something on their website too. That's the other thing. If you've not been on the Iowa League of Cities website, by all means, go on there and see what they've got, because they have a lot of information that they've collected over the years. Corey, there's one on there in the fire department, which is near and dear to my heart, because a gentleman named George Oster and I wrote that years ago on fire department relations. Okay, let's see, number 14, continue to work on communications between departments. Number 15, attend training classes for council, mayor, Iowa League of Cities, ECIA. Just what I was talking about. There's some great opportunities out there if you want to take advantage of them.
very valuable
Yeah. Now,
for somebody who's new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hopefully, do I have a copy of the handbook from the league?
We didn't get one at any of the seminars that we went to.
Okay.
I got
You should
both
all
from
have a
Dan.
copy of this handbook. This is your Bible. This talks to you about your role as a mayor and council member. One of the first things I did when I left employment with the city of Maquoketa was team up at the University of Iowa in the League of Cities to do the very first edition of this. And it's been updated every 2 years. It's been updated for 2024. I just happen to have the 2022 version with me, but this is a really valuable tool for you folks, and you should all have your own copy. And it covers a lot of different subjects. I will caution you, it can put you to sleep. So I tell people, maybe set aside, a couple days a week and read a couple chapters at a time, rather than trying to read the whole thing one night. Although, if you're really into city government, you might sit down and read the whole thing some night, I don't know. You can order them through the Iowa League of Cities.
Okay.
Yeah, Iowa League of Cities will provide this.
Do you get them when you like go to the class, like say when you're first class?
Yeah, what they call the Municipal Leadership Academy that they would have done last November, following the city elections, you would have been given a copy if you would have attended.
We did attend. the three
But
of
they didn't
us.
hand them
Yes,
out?
We did not get one. I got one
We
from
attended the
Dan
first.
Hall.
Oh, they might be requiring you to buy them now. They used to provide it as part of the registration
They
fee.
didn't even offer them. I didn't even,
Really?
I mean, you would have thought they
Yeah.
would have had a table with our name
But you might
tags.
want to look into buying some for,
gonna ask
they're not that
council.
expensive. They're only at $20 a book or so.
Can I get a count of who wants one or needs one?
I have a
two.
2022 version. I'd like an updated.
Oh.
But
I don't have one.
I'll give you
Oh,
the
so you got
21.
one then 2 years ago, huh?
No, I got mine
Dan
from
Home.
Dan Home. It
Oh,
was-
okay. So you inherited one.
I did.
Okay,
Which
gotcha.
I do agree that it's valuable.
Yeah.
A lot of great
A
information.
lot of good stuff in there. Between the website and the handbook, you can really cover just about most every topic that's going to come up for discussion. The other nice thing about these workshops, especially the league conference, is meeting other council members from other communities and other mayors from other communities, because you would be surprised how much you can learn by just having a conversation with a few folks. And most of the things you're dealing with, somebody out there has already addressed it. Somebody else had the same problem and they're working on it, or they're working on it right now. So, okay. Let's see, number 16. Come take a look and ride along for a day or two a year.
Who wants us to go on a ride along? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
This-
I got to go with.
That was me.
That
Yeah.
was so.
And I just, we do so many things. And my day, today, 14-hour day, I went from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. And some of you guys don't realize everything it entails. And I'm always open for a rider. I mean, you'll see everything. We might get a slow day. If we do, we'll do a second day. But so many of our days are crazy.
Yeah. Two of the most eye-opening things I did along these lines was the police chief at the time was Buddy Olson. He said, come in some night and he said, for the third shift and go out with those guys in the police car. He said, we'll let you do it. And it was kind of eye-opening. But the other thing I would recommend is take a ride in a snowplow sometime. That's a real eye-opener.
Andrea, no.
Yeah.
I know on that too.
Yeah. 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 But there's different things out there that maybe you've never been to. Have you ever been to the wastewater treatment plant?
Yes.
Yep. So all good things. Some cities do tours where all the council members get together on the same time. This is a good time of the year because you have so much daylight to work with after 5 o'clock, and just go around and look at the different facilities and look at the equipment and have the department heads point out things to you that maybe you're talking about at a council meeting, but physically seeing it firsthand is always a plus. Yeah.
I know it was seriously stressed, like even when I got elected, like it was very stressed that, hey, you need to go take a tour of the water treatment plant, you need to go ride with Frank, you need to go take a ride with Brad or, the department heads and get to know them.
Yeah.
I've noticed over the last couple of years, which we've had changeover and turnover, between city managers and employees and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something we have gotten away from, not doing that.
Yeah.
Right along with your predecessor.
I remember when I rode along with Frank, 'cause I was always of what was city-owned, what was county-owned, because
Yeah.
like sometimes you think it's city-owned and it's county-owned, and Frank went through all that when I was riding with him in the snowplow. I learned a lot from it, and there were stuff that I thought I already knew. I've been in the town, 40 years? I didn't know everything. I wasn't even close to it. So, I mean, it was very beneficial.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I make one comment? Sorry, Kevin, are you
Go ahead.
done?
No, keep going.
So when we had the trailer parks and they were all metered by water meters, Sue was in the office at the time, and she didn't realize what it entailed to shut off water to one of those trailers. And so she went with me for about an hour and a half, and we shut water off to a couple of them trailers. And when you crawl underneath, we have dead cats under some of them. We go and there's dogs. She had no idea what it entailed. So when we got rid of metering those trailer parks and went to straight pipes with a master meter, she was excited for us as much as we were excited for ourselves.
She was.
Well, that was a good change. Okay, where'd I leave off? Number 17, council members need to continue to look into the future and look for the big picture and long-term results. And that's what tonight is about. Yep. Okay. 18 is just an observation, impressed with Josh's leadership and the way the council has worked.
I think our council works really great.
Yeah,
I've
that's
watched
what I've been
council
hearing,
meetings
and
from other ones,
yeah.
it's super heated and
Yeah.
intense, and
Yeah.
I think ours works.
Which
pretty
is,
great.
like I told you when we started, that is great. I don't see it everywhere, and don't ever take that for granted. Yeah. By the way, there's a few cities out there that I've had to offer some suggestions to, and that is the city of Asbury adopted a code of conduct for elected officials. And of course, most cities talk about adopting a code of conduct, and there's all kinds of problems. And there's one council member that's driving everybody nuts. And that's not the time to adopt a code of conduct. That's not the time. The time to adopt a code of conduct is when everything is going smooth. And what you're doing is you're doing the next generation a favor, where you say, this is what we've been doing, now we put it on paper. And once again, enforcing a code of conduct with elected officials can be challenging, but there are things called, what do you call it, reprimand or something where you just say to the public, you elected this person, but next time you come to vote, keep in mind, the rest of us have not been impressed, okay? And hopefully that is enough to deter someone from, being a bad actor at council meetings and that sort of thing. So just a thought, City of Asbury, they'd be more than happy to send it to you if you want to see their code of conduct. I have a copy as well. So, but I would urge you to talk to those folks if that's something that interests you. Okay. Let's see. Number 19, yeah. As the city considers future investments in the community and the potential loss of revenue to our areas, look at projects both from a service to citizens perspective as well as ongoing sustainability. The very comment I made about if you have a new swimming pool, wonderful project. People love it. The question is, okay, imagine your budget with a pool and the operations. Can you sustain it? And if the answer is yes, then yeah, full speed ahead. But the answer is, we don't have enough money to pay for what we're already doing, much less adding that to the equation, then you need to step back and evaluate. So once again, why I'm so pleased to see that you're going to do this financial component on these projects, because that's so important to incorporate that. In fact, I might suggest other cities, they do the same approach. Number 20, staff continuity in most departments is a major concern right now. We talked about that earlier. There are less people to work, increasingly complex processes, and less expert knowledge in the job market. Be thinking about replacing key staff members, giving grace to learning periods, and supporting the next series of administrative employees. That's a pretty lengthy comment, but pretty critical, because
So accurate.
yes, very accurate. And once again, if you come up with a great plan, you'll be able to sell it to a lot of cities, okay? Because, like I said, everybody's dealing with it. And not just city government, but just businesses as well are dealing with that issue. So, number 21. Overall, this council has done exceptionally well from the city manager's perspective. They call with questions, they follow up on items, and listen to why proposals are made the way they are. They see the big picture and challenge. Council is not afraid to push the city manager to fully explore an issue. This may happen more than in most city organizations and that the public realizes. This is a compliment to all council members. So, good. Anything on this list that you think we need to modify, strike in any way, or are you all good with it? You're all good with it? Anything we needed to add to this list of comments going forward? So, once again, we're not going to vote on these, but just every once in a while, kind of pull them out and refresh your memory of, and you may find that there's a couple things on here that you might have started doing, like the ride along, you know, that sort of thing. So kind of make it a priority. All right.
Thing I would add to your list of items, you know, about city council. You know, you gotta remember, city council is like a family. Some days you get along great. some days you
Exactly.
don't.
Yep.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. But in the end, you usually have each other's back.
At the end of the day, you can count on them.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 12 kids, and I always tell people, if you want to remain humble, have 7 brothers like me, because they will remind you just how stupid you are. So, but yet, we would do anything for each other, and we've got each other's back. So, okay. Anything we haven't covered that you came in here tonight and said, boy, I hope we talk about this? Did we get it all covered? Okay. Josh, anything we haven't covered that we need to bring up or talk about? We got it all covered from your perspective?
I think so. Andrea and I and Pat and Heidi Cool will be working together, and hopefully we don't cancel the next meeting a couple times over, and we'll be set for the next one, September 5th.
I think
Is the
that's
date?
it. Yeah. And of course, depending on their schedule,
Yeah.
we may
Right.
have to move it back a
Yeah.
little bit. So as soon as I have Josh's, where he put his dots, then I can finish up the report.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we'll work that out here after the meeting. Okay. Anything else? Look at a cause? Okay, Mayor, that is everything I've got.
Okay.
So you
Anybody
can,
got anything they wanna add to it? If not, let's adjourn.
all right. Thank you, Mayor. Once again, help yourself to any of these items.